DreAllDay.com.
Peace has officially been disturbed. You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, no, we're not done. You get a huge dose of personal initiative. What is that? That's the go-getter energy. You know what I'm talking about? That moves you to make things happen instead of wait for things to happen. You know that feeling. What we do is we take all of that. We put it together in just one bundle, one package, one mindset, one method, one philosophy, one book, one university. Yes, there's a university. You don't even got to sign up for college. They're overcharging you anyway. One show, this masterclass right here that is called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. I will tell you up front before we even get into this. Actually, let me tell you the topic, then I'll tell you up front. Topic here today is the hard things paradox. The paradox of things that are difficult to do in life, and you'll understand what I mean by that as we get into this conversation. But before we even do that, let me let you all know that this episode is brought to you by us good folks here at Work on Your Game Incorporated and Work on Your Game University, where you can get this Work on Your Game philosophy that I just talked about, the mindset, strategy, the accountability, and the action steps necessary for you to take your game from where it is to where it is going. You can learn about that at workonyourgameuniversity.com. And since I'm giving you this show every single day, since I'm giving you the game every day, the only thing I ask from you in exchange is that you leave a review of the show on whichever app allows you to leave reviews. If it's on Apple Podcasts, that'd be great. Stitcher is another one. I don't think the rest of them allow you to. So on Apple Podcasts, leave a review, leave a rating, let people know the game that we're giving, let people know this is the place that you can get that game on a daily basis. Again, there is nobody else in the content creation world that is doing what we do here at Work on Your Game since 2016. That's just a fact. All that being said, back to our topic, which is the hard things paradox. Understand that life is not always going to be easy. I think you understand that if you listen to a show called Work on Your Game. You know that there are challenges you'll face, there are setbacks you will go through, and there is tough shit that needs to be dealt with. You have probably already experienced all of these and more many times over in life. But this does not mean that you need to take the hardest possible road through life at all times. It doesn't mean everything has to be a struggle and a challenge in everything that you do in life. What we're going to talk about here today are the hard stuff that you're going to face in life and how you will discern, how you will decide and use your judgment skills as to what you do need to face and maybe what you can walk away from, maybe what you can work around, maybe what you can go a different direction on. So there are going to be hard things that you face in life, but it doesn't mean you have to deal with all of them. Sometimes you can avoid the hard thing. Sometimes you can go around the hard thing. Sometimes you can delete it. Sometimes you can recruit help. And sometimes you're going to need to deal with it head on. That's what we're talking about here today. And again, as I get into the points, you'll understand even more why I'm calling this a paradox when we talk about the hard things in life. And those of you who are not familiar with the language, don't know what a paradox is, let me give you the definition of the word. According to the Google Dictionary, it says a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. All right, is that a good enough definition for you? All that being said, let's move on to point number one. The topic, once again, is the hard things paradox. Point number one, on one side, sometimes in life things are hard because diamonds come from pressure, as they say, right? Pressure makes diamonds. Pressure can burst pipes at the same time. Not everybody is built for certain pressures, which means you have to earn it. In other words, there are some things that you're going to face in life that will be very difficult, very challenging. There will be many setbacks. It will seem insurmountable for you to even try to achieve that thing. But the reason why it is so challenging is because not everybody is worthy of the accomplishment that comes on the other side of it. Things such as starting a business, things such as giving birth to a baby, things such as making a relationship work out over the long term, things such as making it to some type of profession where not everybody can get in, like being a professional athlete or something like that, training for and completing a triathlon, maybe winning a triathlon. These things are hard for a reason. It's a good reason. The good reason is not everybody's going to be built for it. Not everyone is going to be capable of achieving that thing. Not everyone is going to be able to get to the top of Mount Everest. That's when somebody does it, it's a big deal, right? Not everybody's going to make it to the NFL. That's why when someone gets drafted and they sign that contract, it's a big deal, even if their career only lasts one season, simply because not too many people even get the opportunity to get there. right? So sometimes in life, things are difficult because it's set up that way to filter out everybody who's not serious, everybody who doesn't have the game, everyone who doesn't have the skill, who doesn't have the mental toughness, who doesn't have the ability to achieve that thing. So if you right now in your life, you're facing something that is really hard, is really difficult, or maybe you haven't even started yet, but you're looking into it, and maybe you've gotten information from other people or just off your own personal judgment, this thing looks like it's going to be really, really hard to do, and you're wondering if it's even worth it. On one hand, okay, we got two hands, right? On one hand, it may be difficult simply because that thing is challenging you, testing you to find out, are you really real? Are you really serious about this? Are you really willing to do all the work necessary to achieve this outcome? That's one reason why some things in life are hard. And I want you to hold that thought as we move on to our next point. Point number 2. The topic once again today is the hard things paradox. Here's the other hand. All right, assuming that we got two hands. If you don't have two hands, just imagine that you did. On the other hand, some things in life are hard because there's nothing to be gained there. No wonder it's difficult. No wonder it seems challenging. No wonder you can't quite envision or imagine how you would achieve that thing because you haven't seen anyone else achieve it before. You haven't heard of anyone else achieving it. Maybe because there's nothing to be gained from doing it. So maybe you shouldn't do it at all. Maybe something looks hard. It looks really difficult and challenging because for you to even try will be a waste of your time and a waste of your energy on something that you should not have started doing in the first place. No wonder it's hard. For example, if you trying to break a brick with your bare hands by punching it, it's probably a bad idea unless you've been trained to do so. You probably don't want to try that. You probably break your hand before you break the brick. All right, there's a reason why not too many people are capable of doing that. There's a reason why you don't see too many people doing that on a regular because it's simply not worth the effort. Trying to change somebody's mind. If someone is a Democrat and you want to change their mind to Republican, it's probably not a good idea to try to do that. There's a reason why you don't see it happening too often, simply because it doesn't happen that often. It's probably not worth the effort that will be required for you to even attempt to make that happen. It's a bad investment of your energy. All right, changing somebody's opinion from they think LeBron is the best to changing their opinion to Michael Jordan's the best. It's probably not going to work to change that person's mind. All right, trying to change people's minds is a bad bet. Or it's a bad business investment. It's a bad time investment. If you're a 5'4" tall Asian guy trying to make it to the NBA, it's probably a bad decision to even try. Okay, no wonder it's been so difficult for you. No wonder you face so many challenges. No wonder so many doors keep getting slammed in your face because you are trying to do something that is probably not going to work. There's a reason why not too many other people have tried it either. So understand that sometimes in life, when you look around and you see a whole bunch of other people doing something, and then you may think to yourself that, hey, maybe I shouldn't do it because look at all these people who are already doing it. On the contrary, when you see a whole lot of people already doing something, there's a silver lining to that. The silver lining is there's a market for it. The silver lining is there must be people who are signing up for this. There must be people who will pay for this. There must be people who care about this thing. So when you see a whole bunch of other people already doing a certain thing, that can be a negative because you're like, damn, I got all this competition I'm gonna have to go against. I'm gonna have to cut through all this fat to get myself seen, heard, and known. But at the same time, the flip side of it is, well, at least I know there's a market. There are customers who are paying these people. There are jobs who are hiring these people. There are clients who are signing up with these people. There's something here. There's something going on. There's activity. There's energy here. So, on the other side of that equation, when you look at any situation in life and you see that nobody's tried it before, you've never seen a 5 tall guy play in the NBA, and you're like, oh, well, this is perfect. Nobody's ever done it before. There is no competition. I would be number one in my market as soon as I start doing it. That is absolutely true. However, the flip side of it is maybe there's a reason why there's never been a 5 tall guy playing in the NBA, simply because it's too goddamn hard for anybody to achieve it. Simply because maybe the NBA is not interested in 5 tall basketball players. Maybe because somebody has tried it, but they were so unsuccessful, so quickly, and so unceremoniously that you couldn't even find a story about it on Google. So sometimes in life, when you see no competition in the space, there's a reason why there's no competition, because there is no value in going after that thing. And other times in life, when you see a ton of competition, there's a reason why there's a ton of competition, because there's a ton of value to be had. So if you decide you want to be in a podcaster and you look around the podcast space and you say, damn, every day there's 1,000 new podcasts popping up. I don't think that's the actual number, but it's probably close. You might say, well, it's not even worth it for me to do it because I'll just be podcast number 1001 coming out tomorrow. But here's the thing. The reason why so many people are starting podcasts is because there are so many people who are listening to podcasts. There's so much opportunity in the podcasting world. So maybe there's a reason why that's happening. So when you see a ton of competition in the space, then it may be hard for you to cut through the fat. All right, I'm not telling you it's going to be easy. It might be hard for you to get seen, heard, and known in that space when there are already so many other people occupying that lane. But at the same time, understand there's a lot of people there because there is getting to be got. You understand what I'm saying? When the California gold rush was happening in the in the past century, there's a reason why there was so many people going over there because there was actual gold to be found. Now, did everybody find gold? No, but was there enough gold to go around that a lot of people they satisfied their desire? Yes. So this is the paradox of hard things between the two of these. Sometimes it's hard because there's a lot to be gained. And sometimes it's hard because there's absolutely nothing to be gained. Your challenge when you're trying to figure out which one it is, you might have to take a little bit of action. You might take a little bit of personal initiative to find out. But it's also your skill of discernment, your skill of perception and judgment and figuring out, okay, why is it so challenging to do this? Maybe you can get some information again from other people. Maybe you can look into it a little bit. You might have to take a little bit of action and get some activity knowledge to find out. But your skill of discernment, I talked about this in episode number 1431. Again, that's Masterclass 1431. You can listen to that by going dreallday.com/1431 and then put a dash right after it. That'll pull up that episode. The title is Discernment, your skill of perception and judgment. Point number 3. The topic here today is the hard things paradox. Here's the $1 million question, ladies and gentlemen. How do you know which hard thing you're dealing with? How do you know if you're dealing with something that's hard? Simply because the reward is very big and therefore it has to be really challenging. It has to be a lot of barriers to entry in place to block the browsers and the people who are only skimming the surface, the people who are not really serious about it. How do you know if it's hard because of that, or it's hard simply because it's not even going to be worth it? It's not going to be worth your time investment to even try. How do you know? Answer is you don't know. Now, again, you can try to discern as much as you want, as I talked about in Masterclass, again, 1431. But you don't really know until you do something. Here's how you can mitigate the risk, though. How you can mitigate your risk or your risk of either missing out on an opportunity because you thought it was too hard, but there was actually a lot to be gained, or investing unwisely because you thought it was an opportunity, but it turned out it was not an opportunity. You got to find mentors who've been where you want to go. This is one of the simplest ways to save yourself time in anything that you're doing in life is finding mentors, people who have already been where you want to go, who can help cut down your learning curve. In other words, tell you or advise you or push you towards doing something that you may have never even thought about doing or you've been resistant to doing, and or keep you away from things that you've been thinking about doing or talking about doing that really won't be worth it because they already know what happens when you try that because they tried it already 10 years ago. In Masterclass number 283, in any episode that I reference on the show, you go to dreallday.com/ put the number of the episode and then put a dash after it. The episodes will come up. Episode number 283. The topic was TMI, which stands for too much information. Choosing your gurus and mentors and eliminating the rest. I advise you, do not try to listen to everybody all at the same time, especially on a similar topic because there are too many people. There's too many people sharing information. You try to listen to everybody, your brain is going to explode simply because there are too many people to listen to. You can't listen to everybody. It's not enough, you don't have enough time. You don't have enough ears or brains to process everything that everybody has to say. And the other thing is multiple people on the same subject are going to have conflicting ideas and conflicting perspectives. So how do you know which one is quote unquote right and which one is wrong? Maybe they're both right, but they just have different ways of going about it. So which one are you going to follow? Which one are you going to listen to? Which one are you going to model your work after? Again, that's episode number 283. And also I talked about this in episode number 161, mentors, why to have them and how to use them. Very simple. Again, that's episode number 161. I told you in my book, chapter 12 of my book, Work on Your Game, which you can get at workonyourgamebook.com, about mentorship. How do you go about getting a mentor? What are some things you can do to help your mentor help you? Because understand that a mentor is not the same as a coach, ladies and gentlemen. Now, a coach is a person that you hire, you pay them, and they are going to help direct you towards where you need to get to based on what you say your goals are. A mentor is a person who there is not a business relationship. This is just a person that you can bounce ideas off of. They can tell you, hey, stay away from that. Hey, you probably want to do that. But understand that since there is not a business relationship, your mentor is not obligated to help you out. All right. So the way that you pay your mentor is by doing what they actually suggest that you do. If your mentor suggests do this, you actually do it. They suggest you stay away from something, you stay away from it. Again, now, if you don't want to listen to them, then they shouldn't be your mentor. Okay? So listen to them when they're telling you stuff. Do and implement what they advise you, because you succeeding based on their advice and based on their feedback is your payment to them, because it helps prove that their advice is actually worth it, that their advice actually works, and you become a success story of their mentorship. And that ego boost of me knowing that my advice helped you become successful, that's payment enough for me. Now, somebody else might decide, hey, I do mentor, but I charge for it and I call it coaching. Some people in the coaching industry like to say things like that. Then you have to pay them, and you get the same result. But understand that's the game. Okay? And I talked about mentors in several episodes here on the show. Just in Masterclass number 1585, I told you why even though my background is in sports, I look more to entrepreneurs as mentors over athletes. I don't look to any athlete as a mentor. Out of all my virtual mentor episodes, I did 5 of them. Only one of them was an athlete, and that was Michael Jordan, episode number 1217. I did 4 others. One of them was on Damon Dash, another Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, another Sean Jay-Z Carter, another Sean Puff Daddy Combs. Again, if you go to dreallday.com/podcast, you can find where all of those episodes are on the show. But we're still here on point number 3. The topic again is the hard things paradox in life. Find mentors who have already been where you've been, who can help advise you or at least help you think through whether you're looking at something that is hard for a good reason or hard for a bad reason. Educate yourself. Once you decide you're going to go into something, educate yourself on what's really required for you to get to the end goal, whatever that end goal may be. It may not be as simple as you think it is, or it may be a completely different process than what you thought it was before you started getting the information. So educate yourself as best you can before you actually start taking action. Now, don't drown in information, which you can easily do. Don't drown in information and become a professional information gatherer, because pigs get slaughtered. Okay, that's PIG, professional information gatherer, for those who, if that went over your head. But get enough information that you can at least start taking steps. And then once you get that activity knowledge, then you'll get some really solid feedback in your own mind of whether or not you want to keep going or you need to go find something else to do. Also, make sure you're getting consistent feedback on how you are doing and what kind of progress you're making. The feedback can come from your mentors. It can come from the people on your team. It can come from your family. It can come from yourself. It can come from your clients and your customers. It can come from your audience. It can come from your potential customers, also known as your prospects. Make sure you are getting feedback from someone that you know and trust, who will tell you the truth about what you're doing and the impact that it is having, so that you, again, along with your own activity knowledge, know whether you should keep going on this path or whether it's time to walk away. All right. Do not just grind blindly. This is something that I find a lot of people doing. And one of the main reasons why this show, Work on Your Game, exists. I don't want anybody who listens to this show to be out there grinding blindly. Everybody know what I mean when I say grinding blindly. Just listening to that phrase, you know exactly what I mean. And there are some people listening to me right now who, I'm talking about you. You are working. There's a whole lot of doing that you're doing in your life. It is not getting you to the outcome that you want. Does not necessarily mean that you should quit. But if you're grinding blindly, then maybe it does. Because blindly means you don't have a strategy in place. You don't have anyone to bounce ideas off of. You don't have a mentor or a coach in place to give you actual feedback. You are not seeking feedback. Maybe you're not open to feedback. So therefore, you just keep grinding and working. You have no idea how close you are, how far away you are from your actual result. And how do you know when to stop? How do you know when to start? How do you know what to do next? Well, you don't, because you're blind. You can't see anything. So I would suggest any of you who finds yourselves grinding blindly right now, I would suggest you go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is in the description, or wherever you happen to be listening to this. If you just scroll down, it's right in there, workonyourgameuniversity.com. I would suggest you join our community, where we will help you with that blindness. All right, we will help you see. All right, even if you can't see, then we got Braille. All right, we got for vision impaired, we got ways for you to get that vision as well. Again, that's at Work on Your Game University. Let's recap today's class, which is the hard things paradox. Life is not always going to be easy. There are challenges, setbacks, tough things to deal with. We all know that. Doesn't mean that you need to take the hardest possible road, and it doesn't mean that you should avoid the hard things. Today, we're talking about the paradox of how to look at things that are tough in life. Number one, on the one hand, things are hard because diamonds come from pressure. Not everybody is built for certain successes, so there are filters in place barriers to entry in place that force you to have to earn it. So sometimes things are hard in life because they want to make sure they filter out people who are not serious. On the other hand, point number 2, things are hard sometimes in life simply because there is no opportunity to be gained there. There's nothing to get on the other side of that fence, so you shouldn't even try hopping over it. Sometimes in life, you might just be trying for something that there's no payoff, and that's the reason why it has been so challenging. If you're 5 feet tall, trying to make it to the NBA, the reason that's challenging is not because the pressure is going to turn you into a diamond. It's because you're 5 feet, and no team in the NBA is going to sign you to a contract no matter how hard you work. You need to discern between the two. And point number 3 is that $1 million question. How do you know which version of hard thing you're dealing with? The one that you should keep going because there's a great reward on the other side, or the one that you should quit right now and do not pass go and do not collect $200 simply because there is no goal to gain from it? The answer is, on the surface, you don't know. But you can mitigate the risk of missing an opportunity or of investing unwisely by finding mentors who've already been there, educating yourself on what's really required, and getting and listening to consistent feedback on how you are doing and if you are making any kind of progress. Do not just be a blind grinder out here. Blind grinder. You don't want to be that. All right. Join us at Work on Your Game University. Listen to what I'm about to say to you for the next 5 minutes right after this, and work on your game. Dre all day.